Hey guys, so I'm just driving home from my girlfriend's for Thanksgiving. I just thought I would take this opportunity to do a Q&A and see if anybody has any questions when it comes to strength, hypertrophy, growing bigger, training, and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for people to kind of fill in. Hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving, ate what you wanted to eat and didn't go so crazy that you feel like a lead balloon today. I hope you were able to train yesterday and really make good use of all those calories and train today so you can burn off whatever excess you got as well and keep making those gains. So as you all know, it's Black Friday, and in the U.S. that's practically a holiday of commercialism itself and capitalism, and so tons of sales out there today. Don't know if anyone's working on picking any of those up. Personally, I'm not really going to be buying anything. I never really take advantage of Black Friday. Hey, welcome to the stream. If you have any questions, I'm going to be doing a live Q&A. Let me know. Anyway, so not really buying anything. Don't really watch a lot of TV, so I don't really want a new shiny TV. Everyone has these 4K TVs now, and I don't see the point because most of the videos and movies and stuff that are out there aren't even filmed or recorded in 4K. So why have a 4K set that's only going to play regular 1080p? But I don't watch that much TV anyway, so I'm not wasting my time with any of that. And I usually don't wait for big fancy sales or New Year's resolutions or any type of that stuff to take action. Usually when I feel the need for something, I go and I work at it at the time. Hey Seth, welcome to the stream. I'm just going to be doing a Q&A, so if you have any questions for getting stronger, bigger, leaner, training, nutrition, otherwise, put them down in the comments below and we can get this thing rolling. So just hit me with your questions and we'll start going. I was just kind of commenting on Black Friday at the moment. Personally, I'm not really buying anything. I don't know if any of you guys are. Just driving home for the weekend. So what are your guys' goals? Are you guys trying to get bigger or stronger or leaner? Maybe you're trying to cut right now. Just leave a couple questions and I'll start answering them. Just enjoying this beautiful drive back right now through the countryside. Can you gain strength in a small caloric deficit? Absolutely. So I actually just finished. I just switched into a bulk, but I just came off of for about 4.5 months. I was cutting. I lost 25 pounds of body weight, and while I did, ending up being the leanest I've ever been in my life. And I put over 25 pounds on all my lifts. I had a PR in my deadlift, PR in my squat, PR in my bench. So it's absolutely possible to cut weight and still make awesome strength gains. I feel it's a really big myth that people think that all your strength is going to go away when you cut. You should be able to hang on to most of your strength while cutting, unless you're getting down to the very, very, very end of a bodybuilding prep. So if you're getting down to from when you go from 5 to 3% in cut your water to last 2, maybe 3 weeks of a bodybuilding prep, maybe your strength might take a little bit of a hit. But otherwise, if you're just losing fat, you shouldn't be losing too much strength, right? So strength is a factor of two things. It's a factor of thanks for joining the chat, everybody. Just leave me any kind of questions you got about strength training, muscle building, cutting, whatever you guys want, fitness and strength training and diet, leave them down below. So anyways, when your strength is made of a factor of two things, right? It's your neurological ability to perform the motion and recruit muscle fibers and perform the engram, right? The computer program of that motion, whether it be squat, bench, deadlift, or whatever, right? And then also your muscle mass and fiber type. It's a little more complicated than that, but in general, right, it's your neurology and your muscularity. So a bigger muscle is typically a stronger muscle, and also your ability to use that muscle and do the motion effectively, right? So there's no reason that your neurology should be taking a hit while you're dieting, right? You still should be being able to produce strong maximal efforts, and still moving well. Always should be moving well. So, and also, why would you be losing muscle unless you're doing something really crazy and your muscle starts going down? Then you, hey buddy, I'm not sure. Someone told me to come down just the other day. I might come down a week or at some point to visit my mom, and while I'm there, probably bounce to the old gym. But yeah, so if you're not losing any muscle, there's no reason for your strength to be going down. In fact, you should be able to increase your strength, like I said I had done during my last cutting and strength block. Right? But it was a very specific execution of both my nutrition and my training. So for those of you that just joined and don't know, we're just doing a live Q&A. So any questions for training, training, nutrition, anything on the table, just shoot them down below, and I'll give you an answer. How's your training been going, Bud? How's Bowling Box treating you? Or you're at Golds right now? Training's been good for me. I just switched into a bulking block, trying to be switching up my training. Just came out of a lot of powerlifting, a lot of strength work, and I cut my body weight down. And now I'm switching, kind of going the other way, a lot more reps, more food finally, and a little more of a bodybuilding-esque style, trying to gain as much lean muscle as I can during this. So just leave your questions down below, guys. We'll get right on to the next one. Don't make me pick topics out of a hat. Sure, you got questions. You want to know about nutrition, training, strength building, muscle building, bodybuilding, powerlifting, strongman, performance, speed, power. Anything. It's all on the table right now. What's your goal? Write your goal down below and hit me with those hearts. Is there a 3-day-a-week full body workout a good idea? Well, what's your goal, Seth? So I would say in general, yes, but it depends on your goal. So when I was doing my last strength block, I'm gonna have to pause for a second here. Last strength block, I was training primarily 3 major workouts a week, which included 2 to 3 of the big lifts, and I also would occasionally do accessory days, like back and shoulders and arms and stuff like that, and various other things depending on my level of recovery. So, I mean, absolutely, but it depends on your goals. Strength gain and gain strength and muscle. Hold on, give me 1 second. Just going through a tow booth here. Give me 1 sec.
Hi.
Thank you. Have a good day. So, if you're looking to gain strength and muscle, now it's important to realize that they are different goals. And the best way to gain strength isn't necessarily the best way to gain muscle. Now, they are related, so they will build off each other. But I think it's important to prioritize which one is more important to you right now, and then focus on that one. And like I said, if you build muscle, you will gain strength. And if you gain strength, you will increase your ability to gain muscle. So they build off of each other. But how you go about them is a little bit different, right? So when you're training for strength, like let's say you're a power lifter, your goal is to increase your bench, squat, and deadlift. So that means a lot of focus on the technique and the performance and the movement of the bench, squat, and deadlift. Whereas let's say you want to build your chest, building your chest doesn't necessarily mean benching a lot. And building your chest would involve using your chest muscle and making your chest muscle the focus of your intention, which is different than focusing on having a really great bench, right? One is focusing on the movement, the other is focusing on the muscle. So the first thing I'd recommend is first figure out, well, what's more important to me right now? If I had to choose one, what would it be? Would it be gain strength, or would it be gain muscle? And now remember, you're not only going to gain one, but choosing one will set you up to have better success in the long term. And it's always okay to, you'll end up switching at some point as well, because like I said, they will support each other. But based on what your true root goal is, will determine the best approach so you can see the best success and the results that you really want to see. So, for you, Seth, is your goal more to gain strength, or is it more to gain muscle? Like, if you had to choose one, what would it be? It's always important to prioritize our goals when we are taking any journey. In order to be successful, we need to outline, long-term goals, medium-term goals, and short-term goals. And the more specific we are on these goals, the better we're going to be able to create effective plans and navigate those plans based on our goals. Right? If you set the wrong goal, you're not really going to be able to go anywhere. Strength. So yeah, if your main goal is strength, you want to focus on, and is it for powerlifting or just kind of strength in general? Are you an athlete, or are you a powerlifter or a strongman? Because then that's also that's the next layer, that's the next question. So let's say you're a powerlifter. You want to prioritize your squat, bench, and deadlift. So you could do 3 days a week. You could either do a day where it's all squat, you can either do a day that's all bench and all deadlift, or if you prefer one other, but there's a lot of variables you can play with, right? You have your frequency, your volume, and your intensity, as well as other little factors. But we'll just kind of keep it to those, and you can kind of vary those based on on where you are towards in your progression, right? If you're working up to a meet or you're trying to work at a peak, and how far away you are from that will kind of determine what you want to use. Likewise, what kind of exercises do you want to use? Do you want to use things that are very specific to your bench or dissimilar to your bench, right? The farther away you are from executing, if you're a powerlifter and you want to execute a single rep max bench, right, then the closest thing to a single rep max bench is a single rep max bench. But you can't just single max rep bench or you'll fucking burn out, right? So you want to use things that are similar. So what's the most similar to that? Well, probably a double. What's also pretty similar, triples, reps around there, even reps with upwards of 8 starts to be a little bit different, but is still the same motion, right? And then you can change your other differences would be changing grip, changing pausing in different places. All sorts of different variables are all the same thing. Then you have like incline would be a little bit more different, and then dumbbell would be even more different, and machines, etc., would be all different than that. So you have specificity, frequency, volume, and intensity, and all those should change based on where you are in your program. You want to be right. The volume is going to give you practice and work capacity, and build some of that muscle that you also want. But remember that volume and intensity are inversely related. You can't go really high volume and really high intensity, at least not for an extended period of time. You can do it very, very briefly, but you have to be very careful with that. And likewise, if you're trying to build up to a max effort, right, or you're trying to peak for a contest, you're going to want to use intensity at some point. So your intensity probably will ramp from the beginning of your training to the end of your training, but also what exercises you choose, how specific they are, will also vary from the beginning to the end. As is frequency, right? Because frequency ends up being a factor of volume as well, even though they're not, they're usually defined differently, but they are both, right? They both contribute to your total volume. If you're doing 5 sets every day, that's a lot more than 10 sets or 15 sets on one day. So it is still more volume, it's just more spread out. Frequency is a way to spread out your volume. Personally, I like to be able to undulate things, so I get exposure to a lot of different stimuluses or stimuli, but I will change what type of what kind of change how much my undulation goes kind of based on where I'm at. So when I'm getting closer to a contest or getting closer to a meet or a peak, right, maybe I don't want as many stimulus as I want them more specific. You should always have the end goal in mind, but then also have a bunch of micro goals along the way. Does that answer your question? Kind of kept going there for a bit. Have you ever worked with a coach before, Seth? But yeah, proper periodization and proper programming can have a huge effect. But what's more important than the programming and the periodization itself is the actual execution. You can have a really shitty program, and if you just do everything very well, you have very good efforts, very clean technique, and you just execute everything very well, you're going to have a ton of results despite having a shitty program. Likewise, you can have a really great program and not have the best execution. Again, you have the best program in the world, and if you don't have good execution, you're going to get shitty results. So the best thing you can really ever do is you get someone who knows what they're doing, that's able to watch you and correct you and get all your form and all your technique completely dialed in. Also, if you compare a cookie cutter program to a program that's going to be designed exactly for you based on where you are and changes based on how you respond, in my opinion, that's absolutely the ideal example, where you have someone watching and analyzing everything that's going on, both from a programming, movement standpoint, a diet standpoint, and just ties it all together. And not a shameless plug, but that's what I believe that I do in my coaching. And that's why I believe in it. I am constantly working at making, my coaching and my clients as successful as possible, always making it better, always seeking to improve my coaching process and the techniques and stuff that I use. So, so obviously I believe it's the best. But, anyways, what other questions you got? I'll take some more. On this wonderful, beautiful Black Friday. Gorgeous out here. I don't know if I can flip the phone around. Maybe you dial your diet in. You watch your nutrition. And did you say you're trying to power lift? So I'm really excited to be finally done with my cut and finally starting to eat food again. It's quite a pleasure to not be eating the same, being able to actually eat everything that I want, not everything I want, but, not being in a deficit anymore is really nice and really awesome. And I'm so excited for this bulk kind of go nice and controlled. And honestly, I barely even changed my eating so far. I'm eating like barely anything more, and it's just going to slowly ramp up so my body is able to adjust and really utilize all the nutrients, so I can really make as much muscle gains as possible. Like I said, my primary goal right now is just building muscle. My strength's going to go. I know my strength's going to go up, but again, it's not the goal right now. Even though I'm hitting rep PRs, but it's because I haven't done those reps in a while. The reps are honestly still kicking my ass. Because I'm out of shape for reps. strength-wise, no problem, but the breathing gets to you. But yeah, so I'm really excited. After I finish the bulk, put as much muscle on as possible, I haven't decided if I'm going to do another powerlifting block, or I think I might go and do a strongman training block, work on getting my log up, work on my event speeds and my carry events and stuff. Getting into powerlifting, my diet is alright, and I try to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight and stay at 2,000 calories for a slight deficit for me. So I would say, so the question I'd have for you is, how do you know that 2,000 is a slight deficit for you? Is the scale changing based on 2,000? Did you just use a BMR calculator to determine that number? I don't do much dieting wise. So how do you know that 2,000 is a correct deficit for you? Personally, I'd recommend bumping your protein up a little bit more than that. I kind of like 1 to 1.5. I think 1's a little bit on the lower side. 1.5 might be a little bit on the high side, but like 1.3, 1.4. But when you're cutting, in my opinion, you can never have too much protein. It's because honestly, it's hard to eat a ton of protein, so it can take the place of some more calorically dense and more addictive and more craveable type foods, fats and carbs and whatever and junk. So if you just use the calculator, those things are they can give you a rough idea, but honestly, but they're very, very inaccurate. People vary so much. It's really, really hard to determine, if that's a good measure or not. The best thing I recommend doing is I kind of do everything based off of relativity. So that means that basically it sees where are you at. Like when I work with a client, I'll often ask, what are you eating right now? And more than often, whatever you're eating on average, that's really your baseline. And from there, I kind of make tweaks off of that. So if they're trying to cut, I'll either tighten up what they're eating or take something out just a little bit, just small tweaks at a time. Because again, relative to what they were just doing, that's going to produce an effect, and that's going to create a change. If you just do a big overhaul and just change everything that you're doing, you don't know, A, you don't know where you were, B, you don't know what's working now, and most importantly, C, you don't, it's going to be harder to stick to because you probably are going to start eating foods you don't really like, or it's going to be a big lifestyle change. So I like to integrate my dietary changes for my clients slowly, so it becomes part of their lifestyle, so it becomes easier for them to handle, and also the body also adapts to it better too. If you make a ton of changes, the body's like, whoa, what's this? What's going on? So there's small little changes, and the body pick up and adapt to it easier, I find. But in general, I mean, that's more or less what you want to be doing. Put yourself in a slight deficit, assuming you want to lose weight, right? Because you can also lose fat and not necessarily lose a ton of weight because you're semi-recomping. Cutting straight up, losing weight is the fastest way to get stuff off. But whenever possible, I also try to get people, because later on, once your body weight comes down and you make some progress, you're going to have to continue to make progress, you're going to have to take calories away again. So typically before I start with a client, or before I quote-unquote diet a client, usually I actually increase their food. For depends, the period varies, but my one client, his main goal was to cut and lose his fat and just totally change his physique. He also got a shit ton stronger through the process as well. But his primary goal was physique oriented. So before I started dieting, the first 6 weeks, I was actually increasing how much food he was eating. Pretty much week to week, just kept increasing his food. So by the end of the 6 weeks, he was leaner and more muscular. He lost, I don't even think I forget if he lost any weight, or might have lost like a pound. if that. But if you look at his before and after picture from just the first 6 weeks, he looked like a totally different person. He lost a ton of fat. I mean, he still had more to go, but now he is eating like instead of eating like I don't know, like 2,800 calories or whatever it was, it's more like 3,500 calories. So what that does is now when we went into his actual cut, where I actually started pulling things out of his diet, we had way more room to play with and way more, so when you get to the very, very end, you're not only eating 1,000 calories, 500 calories a day, which is insanity, right? So because your metabolic rate is higher, so your deficit, it's easier to get a deficit without eating so little food. As much as possible, I want to feed the body so it's optimally able to feed the body so it's able to continue to perform and continue to grow. So you continue to have good training, right? Which especially for strength is extremely important. You don't want your training to suffer, so you don't want to be in a stupid low calorie deficit and not eating any food, versus being able to still eat what would be to a normal person a decent amount of food. This way you're still able to perform, and that'll keep your strength up as well. So that's what we did for him, and he had an incredible transformation. You can see his before and after photos on my Instagram and my Facebook, and you can just see the total transformation he went through. The first 6 weeks alone was a huge transformation, and then by the end of about the 4 months, looked like a completely different person. Awesome. Any other questions? I'll take a couple more before we end. How long have you been powerlifting for? How's your, what are your lifts looking like? What's your, what lift is giving you the most trouble? What's your best? What's your worst one? Which one feels the hardest? Which one feels the easiest? What makes sense and what doesn't make sense? Drop me some hearts. Awesome. I'm glad it's been helpful, Seth. If you got any more, I can answer one more question. If not, I'll just cut it off here. Thank you so much for joining. I'm glad you got a lot of value out of this. If you want more information, feel free to message me, and we can talk further. And follow my Instagram, follow my Facebook, and my YouTube channel, which I'm working on getting more content on there as well. Give you all the support and value that you need. So thank you guys for following. Hope you have a really great Black Friday. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.